Hello, my name is John, and today on Mono Story we're going to be talking about what happened to Joyboy. So let's get into it and find out what it's all about.
聞こえる？懐かしいなお。解放のドラムが聞こえる。800年ぶりに聞く。ジョイボーイが帰ってきた。
Now, before we start the video, I just want to make sure that this is a theory video where I try to use my best idea of logic that I have in order to explain what I think is going to happen in the future when we do hopefully find out who not only Joyboy was, but what has happened to him in the story. And so I'm only going off based what we currently know about Joyboy, whether it be from the poneglyphs or it be from other people's word of mouth, even their expressions or thoughts when it comes to Joyboy. So some of these ideas may be disproved in the future. Joyboy was born around 800 to 900 years ago during the Void Century. He was born into this place known as the Great Kingdom and became what is known as the first pirate. He became friends with Zunesha, that we now know as the Elephant, and Emmet, who we also know to be the Iron Giant or Robot. And he was the originator of what is now known as the Will of D, though we're not sure if that is the case at the moment with the recent revelations of Davy Jones. However, as of now, we are still running on the fact that he is the beginner of the Will of D. And he also had the ability of the sun god Nika with the Hitite no Mi model Nika, which we now have seen with Luffy and his ability to unlock Gear 5. And that is the best interpretation we have for his abilities as of now, as well as his haki use when we saw Emmet use his haki through the knot when he broke it, and that displayed how powerful Joyboy was during his time. He eventually fought in a great war against what is known as the 20 creators, who are the now 20 world nobles or celestial dragons that live in Merijois, except for the Nefertari family. And this eventually led to what we believe to be his deletion, as we have seen in the recent mural that we have seen him fighting what looks to be Imu, and these creators also established with the help of Imu what is now known as the world government. Using this information, we can now ascertain how did he potentially lose in the Great War, as he not only was a very strong fighter. If we look at Luffy again as the sun god Nika, his abilities are very unrivaled. Even the Gorosei were struggling with Luffy's abilities. And Luffy now is not at a place where he is as strong as what Joyboy once was. And so to be able to not only defeat Joyboy means you must have a way than anything we have experienced in One Piece. And that would be the way that I think Imu has won against Joyboy. He had to have overpowered him. But how could you overpower such a strong character? And he would have done this by attacking his weakness. And what is his weakness? His friends. That is how he would have done it. The reason being, we have recently discovered a little bit about Imu's abilities, how he is able to not only destroy other people like he did with Saturn when Saturn disobeyed his orders, but he also is able to control other people. And we don't just have one case of this, we have at least now 3 cases of this. So the first case is Gunko, where he took over Gunko's body as a vessel and is now on Elbaf. And the second case we are aware of is with Rox D. Sebek, and how he not only deleted him but took over his body and basically made him a soulless vessel that was just being used by him to cause harm onto other people. And our last and biggest piece of evidence of this being possible is where he turned the giants against themselves. So he took Dory and Broggy and he used this ability called the Domi Reversy, where he's able to give an individual immense power in exchange for a part of their lifespan. And these people become servants for Imu, meaning that they have to listen and follow everything that his wish or desire is. And therefore, this ability would have also had to have been used in the fight against Joyboy and his allies, because we know, at least in terms of the giants, they were allies with Joyboy, as they also worshipped the sun god Nika. And going back to Imu, with these abilities, if he was a person who could control the sea, as his name backwards is Umi, then I believe his color should be blue. So this would even give us further inclination that Imu has immense power that is even stronger than what we believe to be would be the sea. And I mean, we have a lot of evidence to prove that he can't do these things, because Neptune is the controller of the sea, or king of the sea. So then I tried to think what his abilities are, and they can't be darkness, even though he is covered in that sort of darkness type material, as Blackbeard's devil fruit is the Yami Yami no Mi, or the dark fruit, and he can't be in control of shadows because that is Gecko Moria's devil fruit, the shadow fruit. So now we are stuck with what could Imu's abilities be, and my thoughts are only of two things that it could possibly be, and that is, one, Imu's name is Umi spelt backwards, which means that if Umi is the top of the sea, Imu must be the bottom of the sea. So his devil fruit would be the deep fruit, which means that he is in control of the depths of the sea, which is why when he uses his abilities, people are basically sucked into the void and they are released as a different character. The other thought is where characters are being transformed into demons or devils, leading me to believe that Imu's devil fruit is related to being a demon or a devil. Then his abilities or name of his devil fruit must be related. So that would mean his devil fruit is the devil no Mi, or like the demon fruit, something like that, which means he would be able to show wings and have some form of horns like a demon or the devil would have. This also makes me think he might be a succubus, as he is using people and turning them into his slaves, and this might even be an indication to what his devil fruit might be, as he is becoming either a demon, devil or succubus, making his devil fruit a type of Zoan fruit, even a mythical Zoan fruit, and therefore he would be able to have different forms, meaning that is why he has this black aura surrounding him, as that might be one of his three forms. So if that's the case, then that was why Joyboy was overpowered, because how do you defeat an entity as strong as that by yourself while your allies are slowly becoming your enemy? So now, how did Imu ultimately delete and defeat Joyboy? And it's very simple if it still holds true based on what we know from both Imu and Joyboy, and that is he basically turned all of Joyboy's allies into his enemies. And the only two ways that Joyboy would have been deleted was, one, he just gave up. He said, I've had enough, I can't defeat my own friends. Or two, he basically was defeated because he could not handle their immense power and strength. Recently, a YouTube channel by the name of Grand Line Reviews has released a video with the theory called the Domi Liberia theory. Let's take a quick look at a clip now.
All of this Domi reversy business is a small-scale version of Nika's arrival. It's a game played with pieces that can either be flipped white or black, in the context of the One Piece world, to the extremes of either good or evil and or liberation and confinement. And when Nika gets involved in this game, it can go either way, with one side currently being played by a phallic-shaped pitch black silhouette, and the other side being played by Nika, who we've only seen as much more of a bright white silhouette. And I do suspect that if Luffy was to engage in this game of reversy in his Gear 5th form, then he could flip the giants not just back to normal, but turning them into sun god forms. Because if they can become demons, then mate, they can become sun gods.
Now, this theory is very viable, however, it isn't perfectly stated in my opinion. The first issue that we have is that if Luffy is able to do this ability, then Joyboy should have been able to do this ability, as he was the sun god Nika and also looked similar to not only being Luffy, but also being the sun god and having that same silhouette, which would mean that he would have the same abilities as Luffy. So, if that is the case, Imu would not only be aware of it, but Joyboy should have also won. So, if he didn't win, then he was unable to use this ability, which means that Luffy wouldn't have this ability right now. And the only other way Joyboy would have lost if he did have this ability was that Imu would have attacked him or done something with the other 20 creators that would have stopped Joyboy from being able to use this ability. Therefore, if Luffy does not have this ability now, if we base it off that Joyboy didn't have the ability, Luffy would have to go another level. We're talking Gear 6 to be able to achieve this Domi Liberi theory and counteract Domi Reversy, if that is a possibility, as he would have to do what Joyboy could not do, which is bring a new world order. And that is my thoughts on what happened to Joyboy, and I'm very excited to find out all about these things such as the Great War and Joyboy, and where he was not only born, but what his life was all about and what he strived to be throughout his life, because we are still in the early days of that last piece of information, as we have just recently discovered the God Valley incident, which was one of the most important elements because it told us who Rox D. Zebek was, and it showed us many characters who either got very, very old or essentially were deleted before we got to even know about them. But during the God Valley incident, we got to see them not only in their prime, but they showed us exactly what that piece of information of the story in relation to the whole of One Piece and how it is very important. And I hope that with the Great War, and we get to learn all about these different characters, mainly the two most important characters, which is Imu and Joyboy, and what their relationship was, because that will be very important to understand why they either wanted to delete each other or why even Imu is afraid of Joyboy. What did Joyboy have that made him so feared by Imu, this entity that is not only capable of defeating Rox D. Zebek, one of the most strongest characters in all of One Piece, but also able to take giants and make them his slave, and then control holy knights. This entity, Imu, is an unstoppable force, and yet somehow he is scared of Joyboy. So that tells us that there is something more there that we are going to hopefully find out in the future. But I want to know what your thoughts are on Joyboy, the Great War, and anything to do with that part of the story that we are still highly speculating about. So please write that down in the comment section below, and I will respond as soon as possible. I also want to say this channel will always have One Piece content, no matter how many months or years pass by. So I want to thank you all for continuing to watch this channel in regards to its One Piece content. I didn't expect people to want to actually watch this content, because I know there are lots and lots of bigger channels that make One Piece content. So I'm very happy that you are not only stopping by and watching the video, but liking and commenting on it. So thank you so much, and hopefully in the future I will make some more interesting content in regards to One Piece. My name is John from Mono Story. If you haven't already liked, subscribed, and pressed the bell button, please do so. If you want to continue on watching this channel, please click a video up above. If not, until next time, I will see you on another Mono Story.